Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful maxi jumpsuit with straps and side pockets. So you can see the jumpsuit is actually very free. So here I use the chiffon fabric for it, but I added zipper on the side, okay? But I'll advise you to make use of a lycra or a stretchy fabric for this dress so you'll be able to sew it. So you can see how free it looks. You can also make it more freer if you want. So you'll be learning how to make it freer if you want. So here I'm making use of my chiffon fabric. Like I said, I have 3 yards of chiffon. You can also make use of a stretchy crepe. So a stretchy fabric is preferable. So I want to cut out the band first. The first thing we are going to do is to cut out the band. So we'll now use the band as a guide to cut out the jumpsuit. So here I brought a piece of fabric and I made a border line to it. So this border line right now, I'm going to place my strap length at 6 inches. My strap length is 6 inches. So I place 6 inches on that line. And my band is 2 inches in width. So I marked my 2 inches width of band from the strap length. So at this point now, I have 8 inches from the 6 inches to the 8 inches because the band is 2 inches. So on the 6 inches line, I'm going to mark my shoulder divide by 2 minus 2 inches. So there I have 5.5 inches. And on the next line, I'm marking my bust circumference divide by 4. So I'm going to connect from the 5.5 inches, which I minus 2 inches from my shoulder divide by 2. And I'm going to connect to the bust line. I added 1 inch for my seam allowance. And I added half an inch to sew the upper piece of this band, and I'm also adding another half an inch below to attach it to the jumpsuit itself. So I'll draw a straight line right there. So these lines are the lines I'm going to cut when I want to cut my band. So here I'm cutting through the seam allowances. I cut through the armhole, and I'm going to take it to the 1 inch I added, and I cut the lower piece. So here you can see my band is very much ready. So I'm going to place it again on fold to cut out the facing for this band. So for the facing of this band, I'm going to make it 1 inch longer than the band itself. So I added 1 inch below. I'm going to draw a straight line to it. So right now I'm going to trace out what I have, and I'm going to cut it out. That will serve as the facing for the band itself. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out accordingly. So now we have cut the band and we have cut the facing. But remember that this is just for the front band. So this is what it looks like only for the front band. So I'm going to place the band on another fabric and the facing on another fabric and cut out the back band. So here, this is my back band I'm cutting right now. I place my fabric on fold as well. And I'm going to cut out exactly what I have on the first band. So I'll just take my time and cut it. Make sure it is exactly, because both are going to be on the front and on the back, as you see on the thumbnail. So after cutting out the front and the back band, this is what I got. I have two pieces for each of them. So I will set it aside and we'll begin to work on our fabric. So the fabric I'm working with is 3 yards and it's a chiffon fabric. So I'm going to fold the 3 yards into 2 first. So I'm going to fold it into 2, which is 1.5. Then I'm going to fold it again, which will also give me 4 times of folding. So that is how you are going to fold it before you cut. And then you go ahead to arrange it very well. So here I'm trying to arrange it properly. So after arranging, I made my border line of 1 inch, and then we are going to mark 6 inches from the folded part of this fabric. From the folded part of the fabric, mark 6 inches spacing. So I mark that 6 inches spacing from the top to the bottom. So the length of my jumpsuit is 62 inches. I'm working with 62 inches length. So here I've made my 6 inches line and my border line at 1 inch. So the next thing we are going to do right now is to pick up the band. Remember, the band is 8 inches width, 2 inches width, which failed at 8 inches. So I'll now place the 8 inches line on my border line. So place the 8 inches and mark your chest line at 9 inches. My chest line is bust divide by 6 plus 1.5. So whatever your bust divide by 6 plus 1.5, just mark it there. So I marked my waistline as 17. So I've marked my waistline as 17 and I mark my hip line at 29. That is shoulder to hip at 29. So here is my chest line, okay? And here is my waistline. This is the hip line. So the next line we want to make is the crouch line. So to get the crouch line, you are going to use your hip circumference divided by 4. Mine is 12. I added 3 inches to it, which is 15 inches. So from the waistline right now, I'll place my tape on the waistline and I'll mark that 15 inches, and that will serve as my crouch line. So I'll go over and mark a straight line right there, which is the crouch line. So I use C arrow for my crouch line. So now C arrow is just to represent the crouch line. The hip line, I use H for it. So I extended my crouch line, and from that 6 inches line I measured outside 3.5 inches. So I measured outside 3.5 inches. And I planned using my curve ruler to connect this, but it's not giving me what I want. So I place 1.5 inch diagonally from that junction and use it as a guide. So later I have to freehand that part because you need to pass through the crouch line to the 1.5 and then into the 6 inches line on the vertical. So here is my crouch line. So the next thing we are going to do now is to connect from that 3.5 inch crouch line with a straight ruler. You connect it diagonally like an A line pointing to the hem line. So that is exactly what I did. That part will be like an A line. So after that, after connecting the crouch line, you can see my crouch line. You can see that that part has to be curvy and connect like an A line to the hem. So here is my hip line. I'm going to measure my hip circumference divided by 4. Mine is 12 inches. I added 5 inches. If you want it to be free, you can add as much as 5 inches, like 6 or 7 inches, okay, or even 8 inches if you really want it very, very free. But mine is 5 inches, so total is 17 inches. So I mark the 17 inches on the chest line. I mark the 17 inches all over the line, both the waistline. So I'm making a straight line from that chest line to the hem line. So I'm going to cut out this part, okay, so that will be on the side. So now I'm going to bring back my facing. So I will place it on that line, okay, so we'll be able to trace out the armhole. So I just made sure I trace out the armhole like that. So on that line, so that is the armhole line, okay. So it ended at that line, straight line we marked. So you can see how I extended the armhole line on the jumpsuit. So we are going to cut out everything we have right here. So I want you to watch and see how I'm cutting it out. So from the shoulder line or the chest line, you cut on the 6 inches line into the crouch line. Then from the crouch line at 3.5 inches, I'm going to cut like an A line into the hem line. So I'll cut it down into the hem line. And then I want to open up that part because it's actually folded. So I open it up accordingly. So after that, I now came to cut the armhole extension. Okay, this is the armhole from the 8 inches to the 9 inches chest line. So then I added half an inch on the upper piece of this jumpsuit to stitch the band. So the next thing we are going to do is to cut out that excess line. Okay, so if you want it very, very free, you can use the whole of the 3 yards completely. So I've cut it out. So this is what the cutting looks like. This is what your jumpsuit is going to look like. So we have 4 pieces of it right here. So what we are going to do is to pick them up and stitch. But before that, I would like to set it aside now. But remember that we have a pocket. Come down by 2 inches from your waistline and make a notch for your pocket. And my pocket opening, I use 7.5 inches for my pocket opening. So I'm going to mark the 7.5 and also make a notch. So when I'm attaching the pocket, I will know that that is the pocket spacing. So right now I'm going to wrap this dress up, then we'll move over to the strap. So here is my strap. My strap width is 5 inches. When I unfold is 2.5 inches, and the length of my strap is 12 inches. Remember, we marked out 6 inches. For front and back is 12 inches, plus 1 inch seam allowance is 13. So I'm going to fold my strap and sew off half an inch. So after sewing half an inch, I turn my strap, and I had 2 inches width of strap right now. But I'm going to iron it this way. I like the stitching part to be below, so that when I wear it, it will be rest on my shoulder. So the front piece, there is no stitching, and the side no stitching too. So my strap is ready, and it measures 13 inches. Please don't exceed that line, or else it will fall off the shoulder. So now I brought back my band, and I replaced my band with my fabric. Okay, I hasted my chiffon fabric and replaced that band. So I'm taking off the band piece. I'm using chiffon fabric for it instead, but the facing remains the doll face satin fabric I'm using. So you can use the same fabric for it, no issues. So now I bring back my dress because we want to start joining it right away. So I'm going to join the jumpsuit right side to right side. I'll just pick 2 pieces right side to right side. I'll place them, and I'm going to stitch from the shoulder to the crouch line at half an inch. So I'll go to my machine and sew at half an inch from shoulder to the crouch line for both of them. So I'll repeat the same thing for the back piece too. So after sewing, this is what you will have. So you can see what I stitched. So the next thing I'm going to do right away is to make gathers. I'm going to make gathers on the upper piece. Okay, so and I'll bring in my band and sew it in. So I'm going to show you how to sew that part right now. The right way, or the correct way to sew it, is after making your gathers, you start from the, don't sew from the armhole, but you place it on the armhole and secure with your pin. Your sewing starts from the part you ruched or you gathered. Can you see that? So I went ahead to sew, and you can see what I have. You can see that armhole part is just there. Don't stitch it to the armhole, just leave it like that. So I'm going to place it together to cut off that excess. So I went ahead and cut out the excess, as you can see. So now you can see it's looking more like it right away. So the next thing I'll do is to repeat the same process for the back piece. So the back piece, I stitch it in the same manner, and I'm going to also cut it off the same way. So you place it together and cut out that excess. That is not part of it at all. So after cutting out, the dress is ready with the band. The next is to pick up the strap. So you are going to leave half, you are placing the stitching part on top and the part that is not stitched below. Now you can see I left 0.5 inch from the armhole because that is the stitching allowance. So just move away by 0.5 inch and pin. I also did the same the other way. I moved away by 0.5 inch before I pin my strap. Then I place my facing right side to it, and I secured with my pins all over. So I'm going to pin all the way to the armhole right now. So I'll pin everything to the end on both sides. So after that, I'll move ahead to make my 0.5-inch stitch. From the armhole, I'm going to stitch, but before that, please don't forget to hem the facing so it has a neat finishing before you stitch. So here I'm done stitching, and you can see my hemming on the facing. So I'll just go ahead and turn it the other way. Then I'll flip all my seams to the facing and top stitch. So this is what I got after top stitching. This is what I got. So the next thing I did is to bring the back piece. So you can see how I laid it, and I'm going to, this is the way it's supposed to be. So I flip it to right side, and I also move away by 1/2 inch from the armhole because of the stitching, and secure with my pin. So what I did was just the same thing I did for the front, and I'll lay my facing on top of it, and I'm going to also stitch in the same manner I stitched the other one. So here is what I got. I gave it a good press. You can see everything is relaxing, nice and clean. So I'm going to attach my pocket to the parts I made my notches right now. So I brought a piece of fabric to cut out my pocket. So I'll fold my pocket right now, and then I'm going to come down by 1 inch from the top. Then my pocket spacing is 7.5. I marked it, and I slanted my arms, then made the pocket. So I'm going to cut out this. Make sure it slants very well. I like to slant it very well. So now I'm going to cut it out, as you can see. So this is my pocket, but I have 2 pieces. I'm going to make it 4 pieces. So I cut more of it for the both sides. So now I'm going to attach my pocket right side to the jumpsuit and secure with my pin. So here I've stitched it right side to So the next thing I'm going to do is to close up this jumpsuit. So I'm going to wrap it up this way. I'll place one on top of the other and use the facing to wrap the other. So I will stitch at 1 inch up to the pocket space. Once I get to the pocket space, I'll stitch at 0.5 inches and come out and stitch at 1 inch downwards. So here is my pocket, and you can see how it's looking. Then on the other side of this dress, I added a zipper to it. Like I said, without this zipper, you cannot wear this jumpsuit. So this is how I added it. I started stitching from the pockets to the hem, but I left from the arm to the pocket open. So I'm going to sew my invisible zipper on that part. This is how I stitch my invisible. I use the 1 inch seam allowance to sew the zip. So I just placed the zip, as you can see me place right now. Then I went ahead to stitch my invisible zip. So I went ahead and stitched, and this is what I have, and it's looking nice and clean. So this part is the part you are going to wear this dress from. You cannot wear it from the down or from the up. You are going to wear it from the side. I'm emphasizing, if you are not using a stretchy fabric, you cannot wear this dress without a zip at the side. So make sure you get yourself a stretchy fabric if you don't want to use a zip. But if you are using ordinary fabric, you can use a zip at the side. So now I'm going to close up the crouch line. So I match the center front and center back together, and I'm going to sew from that point down. So I'm done stitching this part, and this is what I have right now. So we have gradually come to the end of this tutorial. So I believe you learned a lot from this class. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Share this video, like this video, and be ready for the next video coming up very soon. Thanks for subscribing to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel.